Well, it may be 19 months until Election Day 2012, but party building and candidate recruiting efforts are already in full swing.
After November, Republicans hold 53% of state legislative seats, and that's the most they've held since 1928, and control of 54 of the 99 state legislative chambers, the largest share they've had since 1952. Well, a new organization aims to try to change that and recruit and develop progressive pro-business Democrats at the state and local level. Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley, he's chairman of the Democratic Governors Association, and he's now honorary co-chair of that new group called the New Deal. And, Governor, I have to start out, I've seen this organization. It was called the DLC, and yet, because it's gone, is this what filling in the vacuum?
Well, I guess you could say that. I mean, I was asked by Mark Begich, who I knew from our days as mayors, people that actually have to get things done in a pragmatic and practical way, no Democratic or Republican way to pick up the trash or reduce crime. And Mark asked me to co-chair this with him, and he and I both enjoyed coming together in resonant spaces like the ones that the DLC created, where you could bring together people that were not only senators or governors or Congress people, but really the people that make things happen at the local level. County commissioners, county council members, mayors of somewhat smaller cities, but a lot of the problems are really the same. It's just a matter of scale. At the end of the day, though, I think I think there's a need for a space where Democratic leaders who are pro-growth, who are progressive, who believe these new challenges require new ideas and new approaches, to be able to share those ideas. And
pro-growth
also,
is code pro-business.
Or pro-jobs, I would say. Pro-business, pro-jobs. I mean, at the end of the day, the goal, I think, remains the same. The challenges change. But we need to get back to expanding opportunity and growing our middle class in our country, and to do that with not only innovation in the private sector and new products and new approaches, but also innovation in the public space. How we deliver government services at a time when all of us have to cut our budgets.
I was going to say, is it the idea to find Democrats who are, frankly, more to the center, because the perception is that Republicans won so handily in 2010 that that's what's required?
I don't know. I find all that sort of center talk kind of confounding. I mean, I'm primarily pragmatic in my approach to governing, and I think Mark Begich is the same way. I mean, we believe in an entrepreneurial, pragmatic approach. The things that work are the things that we should do in order to move our country forward, in order to create jobs, in order to develop new renewable sources of energy, and in order to rebuild the infrastructure, whether it's our ports or our roads or other things, in public-private ways that actually produce jobs and grow our middle class again.
Let's talk about this budget crisis that every governor of every state is facing in some form or another. You have a budget gap, I think, of about $1.6 billion that you're trying to close at some point.
Within the next couple of weeks, we will.
But there seems to be this trickle-down effect. And because you were a mayor, I want to ask you about it, right? The federal government has to restrain a little bit, and they're pulling back some of these monies, so no stimulus money. State governments cut back, so they pull, and basically state governments fund local government. Then local governments are left with having to pursue either higher property taxes, sales tax hikes, bond referendums. Where does this end?
Well, I mean, we're all in this together. And that litany that you just ran through certainly makes that clear. Look, we're all in this together. We're in an interesting time in our nation's history where we want leaders who will tell us we can eat cake and lose weight. But the world doesn't work like that. And at the end of the day, we have to figure out as a people, what are those essential things that we must do and that we can only do together? How can we do them in a way that is both innovative and also stretches every dollar as far as it can, but that does not shortchange the next generation? And I hope that that's what the New Deal is going to be able to do, to bring people together in a space where we can talk about these ideas, talk about the things that work, regardless of left, right, or center. Let's talk about the things that work.
It's a common practice to bang on politicians in the context of these budget fights, but do you think the American people are ready to take the tough medicine? I mean, they repeatedly say in polls they want to see budget cuts, but when it comes to the thing they care about, they get very upset, and a lot of these governors who have tried to cut budgets have found themselves diving in the polls.
Well, I think that there's a contrast between the governors that actually bring people together to accomplish difficult things and those that want to sharpen their ideological axe, as so many of the Republican Tea Party governors have done. I mean, it made for great theater for them. Some of them were instant YouTube stars, but it doesn't lead to long-lasting solutions. You contrast that with the things that people like Daniel Malloy in Connecticut or the new governor there is doing.
Whose approval rating is also cratering. considered.
Well, but you can't take things in a snapshot. You have to look over the long term and look at Governor Cuomo and the progress that he's making. None of these things are easy, but we believe as Democrats that it's much better to bring people together in order to accomplish these difficult things. We have to find a way as a people to be honest with one another about the choices we face and the immutable math within which we must do it.
Indeed. Governor O'Malley, good to have you here. Thank you.
Thanks very much.